Years ago, I learned one of the most painful and powerful lessons in my work career. I enable this episode embracing constraints. This story will tell you why. Early in my career as a CEO, I made the mistake of holding on to a project way too long, an idea that I thought was going to be a breakthrough for us. And the more I invested in it, the more I couldn't let it go. And that determination led to almost bankrupting the company because I could not stop a project that obviously needed to be stopped. Well, finally, I ran out of cash and I did what I should have done years earlier, which was stop this project. As a result, we had to restructure the company. I went through the pain of laying off friends, people I knew really well, and who trusted me in my decision making, and we had to almost cut our workforce in half due to decisions I made. Very painful. Out of this pain came the seeds of something different. This was in the software world, and we needed to create a next generation product or be left behind. At the time, it was the transition from character-based applications to Windows-based applications. We all take for granted now, graphical interface. But then it was a huge investment to figure out how to do that. We didn't know how to do it, and we just laid off half our staff, so we had no resource to do it. And we ended up admitting that what we could afford was to put 5 people on this team to create a next generation product and do it in a very short period of time. So we put this team on this project and charged them with this impossible goal of getting something out within 2 years. And here's where the miracle takes place. The idea, instead of fighting our constraints that we only had 5 people, that team began to think, how could we build software faster, easier? And they came up with a completely different approach that leveraged off-the-shelf components. And the net result was that we were able to build an application, a replacement product that shipped within 2 years. And it transformed our business, in many ways transformed the industry. Over the next couple of decades, almost $1 billion worth of that product was sold through the whole ecosystem of partners who delivered it and services, and through the Microsoft channel who ultimately acquired it. Here's the lesson. You can be afraid of your constraints. We do not have enough people to work on this to do what we need to do. In fact, we had a larger competitor who had 100 people working on their next generation product, and we had 5. I don't know about you, but that strikes fear in your heart. You're tempted to flee. What we learned from this was that by embracing that we had such a small amount of resource, it didn't lead to despair. It led to innovation, a completely different way of looking at the problem. That's the challenge I give you, to take a look at the things in your life you think are keeping you from getting where you want to go. In those constraints are there seeds of a redirection, a different approach that you would have never thought of if you didn't have those constraints. I know in our case, if we'd had the capital, we would have put 100 people on our next generation product just like our competitors. We would have never figured it out unless we had these constraints. As often is the case, we see these principles embedded in the Bible, the basic truths of how to lead and manage. The Apostle Paul one time was complaining to God about some constraint he had, some, we think, a physical malady, we don't really know. He called it a thorn in the flesh that was keeping him from being effective. God's answer was basically, suck it up. My power is perfected in your weakness. Say that again. God said to him, look, when you are weak, then you turn to me and trust me, and miraculous things happen. And so often in our lives, we have to be forced to let go when we have no other choice. We're faced with health problems, or a business problem, or a family problem that is 100 times, 1,000 times bigger than we are. Then as a last resort, we turn to God and know his strength and power, which is not constrained by the rules of this world. So there you have it, my lesson from hardship of embracing constraints. That's when the power is really released.